Hello, today I'm going to be talking with you about repacking the Contrabassoon for safe shipping. The first thing I want to point out to you is that the inside foam pieces of the Contrabassoon case are here. We have 7 of these. We have a big circle, a small circle, a tiny cube, a really long rectangle, a shorter rectangle, and then 2 egg foams. We're going to be needing all 7 of those pieces to go inside the Contra case once we start packing it up. Another thing to notice is that we need to pack up the vocals, and you can wrap those in tissue paper or paper towels just so that there's a little bit of padding in there with them. And then before you put the foam pieces in, we need to make sure that the peg is in the Contra and that the rubber stopper goes all the way to the end of the case, so where the case actually starts here, and that we've screwed in the screw really tightly, and that way it'll help it make sure that it's not moving around from side to side and thus damaging the bell in transit. So that has to be in place before we do the next step. The first one we're going to take is the small cube, and we're going to put it in the bottom of the case, right where that peg is, like over the peg, and right where the small U-tube is at the end. And so you can see that this happens to be just a little bit longer this way, and so I'm actually going to put it in this way rather than this way. I'm going to really shove it down in there, so that way, again, it provides additional padding as it's potentially moving sideways in the case. The next thing I'm going to put in is the long rectangle, and that is going to go all the way here in the case. It's going to go to the side, on the right, on the back. Then we're going to take the 2 egg foam pieces, and they're going to go on either side of the handrest, the left handrest. So I'm going to put that in there, put this one in here. It's going to go all the way down in there. A little bit easier to do with 2 hands. All right, so there's the idea with that. And now we need the smaller rectangle, and this is going to go just to the left of the bell. You can see the positioning there. All of this you can follow along in the handy packet, of course. Then we'll take the small half circle, and it's going to go right on top of the U-tube. It's at the bottom, and so we want to make sure that it's flush with that, and it's going to create extra thickness here, like it'll make it hard to close, which is intentional. And then finally we need the large half circle, and that's going to go on top of the top bow. You can see how that's resting just on top of it. Again, it's going to create extra padding against this part of the case, but that is okay. And so then as I close the case, I'm actually packing this up to send out to somebody right now. So as I close it, you can see that it does not want to close easily, and that is, again, by design. So I'm really going to push that down and start latching it up, and that is normal. We are trying to make it so that it won't shift this way in the case as well. So we're trying to protect it against going that way and this way. So we're gonna put all those latches together, and then the next thing is that we're going to take the 4 exterior foam pieces and put those around the case itself. So something to note is that we have 2 of each style of large foam pieces that go around the case. The one foam piece is the end, and you can see that they're exactly the same, but on one side, here I'm putting them so that you can see the orientation, there's a cutout for wheels. There's still only one type of end piece, so if you're like, oh, which one has the place for the wheels? They both do, so you don't have to try to figure that out. It's just that only one side really needs the cutouts. So then there's another type, and that is the sort of L piece, and you can see that there's a shorter side and a longer side, and then there's going to be the same kind of thing, and this is really going to go around the handle, this spot right here. And so I'm going to show you the easiest way to put on these foam pieces on the case. So you can see the part with the wheels, and you can see these are the cutouts for the wheels. So then I'm going to put that in. And then what I do is I actually just stand it up on top of that. So that it's standing up now. And it makes the next couple of steps a little easier. So then I'm going to take one of the interior pieces, and I'm going to turn this around so you can see it a little bit better. There's the handle is right on this side, and I'm going to take the shorter side, and that's going to go around the underside of the handle. And you can see how I just grabbed around it, and that's the higher side. This is the shorter side. And then I'm going to do the exact same thing with the other one, except it's going to go the other direction. And so you can see that the shorter side of this interior piece is meant to be shorter so that there's a place for the handle. Finally, we'll put on the other end piece, and remember, there's no wheels on the top, and so it really doesn't matter where these cutouts go on the top. They're just there so that we didn't have to get multiple different kinds of pieces. So that's gonna go on the very top. And it'll be really nice and snug. And then at that point, I've got one over here, and we're gonna lift it into the box. Of course, we want to have lots and lots of tape. What I would do is have the side flaps, the shorter flaps, kind of out if you're having to do this by yourself, and make sure that these longer flaps are also out. And so that way you'll be able to lift it in and put it directly in like this. Just making sure that the side pieces are still, they haven't accidentally gotten folded in. So next I'd like to talk a little bit about taping. You're going to need probably a whole roll of packing tape. Remember, don't use any other kind of tape like masking tape or desk tape. Please don't use duct tape. You're going to need actual packing tape. So at least 2-inch, if not 3-inch. So the first thing I'm going to do is fold in the small flaps. And then I'm going to fold over the long flaps. Then I'm going to hold these long flaps together, and I'm going to put one tape crosswise, so that way it's holding it together in the center. I'm going to do one on the far left, same direction. One on the far right, same direction. Then from there, I'm going to start putting tape longwise, and I'm going to go from halfway down on the shorter side. I'm going to start all the way down here, and I'm going to hold this down, and I'm going to tape it all the way on the center and all the way halfway down on the other side. And then I'm going to do more and more of that overlapping. So here's me doing the taping. And I'm holding this one down at the sides so that I can make sure that there's no extra space for things to move around and shift. Then I'm going to make sure that I overlap. So I'm going to take the tape, and I'm not going to do it on the exact center, but I'm going to overlap it by 1 inch. So I'm going to start again halfway down. Keep going. Halfway down. Then I'm going to do the same thing, overlapping it, going all the way to the end. I have a 3-inch tape here. If you have a 2-inch tape, you'll have to do more tapes. Overlap. All the way halfway down. Then I'm going to do the 2 on the other side, again halfway down, overlap. Another one overlap. Again, as you can see, this is a 3-inch tape. If you have the more common 2-inch tape, then rather than doing, let's see, what did I do? 5 on there, you're probably going to need to do 7, if not 9. Just a heads up on that, just so that you can plan. And now there's the contra all boxed up. The other thing that we need to make sure that we do is we're going to find wherever the original shipping label was located, and you're going to need to make sure that you use the new shipping label to put that on top of the old shipping label. And I know that seems sort of obvious, but I mean, people have done it wrong before, and it's kind of a bummer. It's going to get misdirected and possibly lost. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask us. There are no silly questions. It's better to ask than to accidentally send something that is not safely packed. Thank you.